Here are the stories we're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. Intel and Microsoft have revealed yet another Spectre and Meltdown vulnerability. The University of Greenwich has been fined £120,000 by the Information Commissioner. Social networking giant and market-leading data broker Facebook is once again taking heat for playing fast and loose with its access to personal information. And YouTube is launching a music streaming service offering both videos and audio tracks in an attempt to compete with the likes of Spotify and Apple Music. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
Jeff Weston,
Yeah, man.
you're building a brand new, beautiful website,
What?
aren't you?
No. Am I?
Oh, you're a terrible actor.
What?
This is where acting comes into play.
Oh, I didn't know we were acting.
You're supposed to act.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah, I'm building a really cool website. Are you building a really cool website? Just because Jeff is confused doesn't mean you have to be. Visit cat5.tv/dreamhost to sign up for unlimited web hosting for your website with unlimited email accounts, MySQL databases, the latest version of PHP, WordPress, and more, and even a free domain name registration. It's less than $6 per month, so sign up today. cat5.tv/dreamhost.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. On Monday, Intel and Microsoft disclosed a newly found variant of the Spectre and Meltdown security flaws, revealing another vulnerability in chips used in hundreds of millions of computers and mobile devices. Intel is calling the new strain Variant 4. While this latest variant taps into many of the same security vulnerabilities that were first revealed in January, it uses a different method to extract sensitive information. Spectre and Meltdown have continued to haunt companies like Intel, ARM, and AMD, which have produced chips with the flaws for everything from computers and laptops to mobile devices. The vulnerabilities, which could allow attackers to read sensitive information on your CPU, affected hundreds of millions of chips from the last 2 decades. While companies like Intel, Apple, and Microsoft have issued updates to patch the flaws, the fixes haven't always worked as intended, sometimes causing computer problems. Hackers often scour online for vulnerabilities that'll allow them to carry out attacks. The WannaCry ransomware attack, for example, took advantage of Windows computers whose owners never implemented a Microsoft patch. The newly found variant uses something called speculative store bypass, which could allow your processor to load sensitive data to potentially insecure spaces. In the U.S. Certs advisory, officials said that the new flaw would enable attackers to read older memory values on your CPU. The company said that it hasn't actually seen this vulnerability used by hackers, and that it's releasing a complete fix for the flaws in the coming weeks. Intel's Executive Vice President of Security, Leslie Culbertson, said in a post that Intel has already made the update available for manufacturers and software vendors. Don't be deceived by marketing talk, however. It looks like the patch will indeed affect performance. While Intel says that they don't expect the patch to affect computer performance, they have acknowledged that performance on the company's test systems dropped between 2 and 8% after applying the patch. The fix is designed to be turned off by default, according to Intel, and it'll be up to vendors to enable it.
It's kind of scary a little bit when you think that so many systems are vulnerable again.
Still.
Yeah.
Still, always.
I thought they fixed this.
I guess they don't fix these things,
So,
turns out. And they sell them with it turned off. So if you're a vendor, why would you turn it on if it's going to affect performance, right? It should be...
That's it. They want their computers
right?
to be super fast out the gate.
Right.
And then, oh, well, you might want to enable that feature to protect yourself against this so that it's you that's making your computer 8% slower.
I feel like there's going to be these legal disclaimers where, hey, buy this computer that's got these amazing speeds, and then the fine print is, if you turn off these or fix these vulnerabilities, you'll actually lose 30% speed capacity or something.
Yikes.
Right.
You know.
They shouldn't. It's false advertising. They shouldn't be selling an unsafe system, they should, if the patch is available, there should be some sort of legal obligation to have it the default as on, so that you're accepting responsibility if you turn it off, not the other way around.
Right. But then how do you market a machine and say, hey, this is a slow machine, but by making it insecure, you could speed it up.
Yeah. Get
Right,
an 8%. That's the new turbo button, folks. Turn off your protection.
Exactly. Remember when the computers had the little knob for like hyper-threading, I think it was, where you'd like overclocking, that's what it was. Where
You had a knob for overclocking?
Yeah, I remember buying a computer chassis that there was a little knob that I could turn, and I could take my CPU into, I think it was 120% over.
Wow.
Like I could
I've never seen it as a knob. Now, I had the turbo button on my old XT systems and stuff.
Yeah, no, it was a little, you just turn it, and then I would watch the performance go up to max about 125%.
Wow.
So do we just have to sit back and wait for patches, or is there anything that we can do to know whether or not there's vulnerability?
Sasha, we are kind of at the mercy of the manufacturers. I mean, Intel has released the patches to the vendors,
Right.
but the vendors now have to create the patches to deploy on the system. So whether that means firmware updates where you need to actually, patch your BIOS, or whether it means Windows updates that break some things and degrade performance, but at least protect you against this kind of a threat.
And
Linux is already patched against it.
okay, that's good.
Yeah, but that is the thing. We're at their mercy. Like, it's not like you can just
You can't
grab a screwdriver and fix this. No,
Right.
it's an on-chip flaw.
So it's scary.
It really
Well,
is. Yeah.
If you let it scare you, I mean,
I'd let it scare me, Jeff.
Well, it should scare you.
But if you are being proactive to search out these patches and these fixes, and you're aware of it, you take precautions to the best extent possible to protect your data. I mean, it's just being conscious. There's no need. I mean,
Right.
if you think about it, everything in our world that's internet based could be used to compromise your security in some way or form. Nobody is 100% secure. So, I mean, you could live in fear, or you could say, you know what, I recognize the fact that I didn't make this, somebody else did, and when there's a human touch, there's a flawed process to it.
Right, but the part that makes me uncomfortable is the part that they're selling these chips, knowing the patch is there, knowing the protection is there, and turning it off. Giving the power to the vendors to turn it on.
But how
right?
is that any different than an auto manufacturer who knows that there's an issue with, say...
The car will explode by default, but if you flip the switch...
Well, no, but I mean, like, if you know that there's, say, like a brake vulnerability, there is from a probability standpoint, and does the auto manufacturer pay to have this recall and replace these 15 million parts, or do they just let it go and pay out the insurance money?
So you're saying Intel should recall Intel processors?
No, but
wouldn't that be neat?
But I mean, at some point they're going to go, it's just not worth it. I mean, you see that with Windows all the time. We're no longer going to support this, and I think I believe Intel's got a list on chips where they don't support. They're not even going to fix it because it's just
they
not
can't
worth
fix it. No, they can't fix it.
Yeah.
But it's and so that raises an interesting point in that. Are we going to come into this place where it's going to become a big issue, and then all of these old processors, and they're not even old at this point, like the modern processor, are going to be not supported because it's susceptible to that?
Right. Does it drive you into purchasing something new?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We're always pushed to buy something new.
Right.
This is like Y2K all over again.
Oh, exactly.
So in this case, now the new processors, the next-gen processors from Intel in the next quarter of 2018, they're meant to be patched against it. I don't know if the whole line is going to be or not. But right now, the best thing you can do, Sasha, is make sure that your operating system is up to date. That doesn't matter if you're on Mac, Windows, Linux. Make sure you've got the latest version and all the patches.
Right.
Make sure that your software is up to date. Things like your web browser. You may not think, oh, I need to make sure that Chrome is the latest version. And if you do, then it is also patched against Meltdown and Spectre. So you want to make sure that those things are patched. All of your software is up to date. And boy, what a task. That's why I love Linux, because sudo apt upgrade enter. Done.
Problem solved.
Slight Linux twist.
Just a little bit.
All right. The University of Greenwich has been fined £120,000 by the Information Commissioner, roughly $160,000 US, for a data breach that happened 14 years ago. The fine was for a security breach in which the personal data of 19,500 students was placed online. The data included the names, addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, signatures, and in some cases, physical and mental health problems. It was uploaded onto a microsite for a training conference in 2004, which was then not secured or closed down. The Information Commissioner said that Greenwich was the first university to receive a fine under the Data Protection Act of 1998 and described the breach as serious. In a statement, the university said that it would not appeal against the decision. It said that it had carried out an unprecedented overhaul of its data protection and security systems since the discovery of the breach in 2016, and it had invested in both technology and staff. It has also said the fine would be reduced to £96,000 with a prompt payment discount. They understand what they did was wrong. That's lovely.
Whoops.
However,
what I find interesting about this is they discovered it in 2016, you said. And it was 14 years ago. That's a long data trail.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. Who knows what it's been done with it?
I think it was just like it was a block of information for a conference, right? I don't think it was extra
But
stuff added in.
96,000 students or something like that?
That's
a
big,
lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I
That
realize
to me sounds
it's
like
serious.
multiple years of student
Yeah,
information.
For sure,
Right.
for sure.
I wonder really about the fact that we don't know what information of ours is out there if a situation like a university has that. Like, I went to college, I went to university, right? So what of my information is out there?
They bleated information about my limp.
Right? So if say I did have a mental health issue, right?
Oh,
in
my
theory,
goodness. Oh.
just as a hypothetical.
Now I'm picturing a whole new
Right?
kind of identity theft.
Yeah.
I'm Robbie. I'm Robbie. Got that limp and everything.
I just worry about the fact, like, what is it that we can do at this point other than what, by identity theft protection? And even in that case,
Yeah, really.
like, is
It's
the
gotten to
insurance
this point where it is foolish. Like, I'm laughing about it, but it's not a laughing matter. But it's gotten foolish.
But how much information, like,
every
it's 2018, so people are way more security conscious about their data now than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 14 years ago. I mean, like, I was looking MySpace the other day. Somebody mentioned MySpace.
What?
Somebody said MySpace.
You
and
were
I'm like,
looking at MySpace in
Yeah.
2018?
and I'm like, is that even still around?
Is this like retro gaming to you?
Sort of, but then I
When I
realized,
play
oh my
Pac-Man,
goodness,
that's like him on MySpace.
I had a MySpace account
Did you now?
back
Do you
when I
still?
worked in radio.
DJ Robbie F had a MySpace account.
Here's the crazy part. I was able to log into my account.
No!
All of my information was
What?
still there.
you remembered your password?
Believe it or not, yes.
I don't
Password
remember a
123.
I don't remember a password I set last
But
week.
back then in time, I had a system for passwords that apparently has stood the test of time because my brain remembered it. It's not a super secure password.
Jeff's MySpace?
No. 1, 2, 3. But anyway, but I was thinking about that going, okay, how much information have we already put on the net that, I can't believe I just called it the net. That's a throwback too as well. But how much information have we already put out that you didn't think about 15 years ago?
Sure.
Right. But
That's
there's
it too, yeah.
but there is information that you really wouldn't voluntarily give. For example, if there's mental health issues or physical disabilities that you didn't want, disclosed.
But we're looking at an
This
internet back then that didn't have encryption and didn't
right.
have...
This is
Right.
pre-Y2K.
So this is like they would put it online for the staff to have access to, like an intranet that is accessible from home.
Right. Oh, it's so
Right?
scary.
But then someone along the way forgot about it, and here we are, 2016, realizing,
2018.
No, but in 2016 is when they discovered it.
Yeah.
So somebody was logging into MySpace in 2016, and they're like, "Oh, what other old things? Oh, there's this old intranet system, and let's check." Oh,
Right.
Right.
Well, and it's funny because where we are right now, we're going through an election for our government, and I'm thinking about social media is used all the time to burn candidates, and how much information could be out there from eons ago that you don't realize. It's like, oh, I'm going to run for office. It's like, hey, did you know 23 years ago it's like, all right. How far back are you going to be able to claw your data if it's gotten out? You can't, to a certain degree. I mean, all you could do is protect yourself and be smart moving forward and hope that the companies that you've entrusted your data with are not going to be sharing it with Cambridge Analytica.
Right, but in this case, then would it be beneficial to get something like identity theft insurance? Right?
I don't think identity theft is the big issue
it's also
anymore.
An issue.
It is an issue, but I don't think it's a big issue. I think it's the identity marketing. That's the big issue today, is you are a marketed product. I'm not, as weird as it sounds, I'm not as worried about my identity theft as I am about being categorized as a commodity to be marketed to. Who I am as a person is a marketing item. I mean, the fact that Facebook has all those categories and people are buying me. They're buying my information so that they can market to me. All of my web access, all of my apps, everything that I do that is on the internet has created a store, so to speak. That is
Jeff, you're scaring me, man. You said don't.
I know. This is the real reason why I haven't done one of those DNA tests, like the 23andMe. I really
those are flawed. Don't even get me started.
I know, but it's the reason things aren't secure enough yet, and I don't want to just throw my DNA out there.
And
anyway.
we're in a world now that is AI and machine learning, and think about. And we're not going to discuss it because we're not getting into conspiracy theories. But if you think about what could become of this world with the information that's available when machine learning and AI does not sleep.
Right.
Exactly. What's the
And we're
movie?
just going to move
Eagle
on from
Eye.
there. Eagle Eye?
Yeah. Check that out. Blow your mind.
I'm into having my mind blown.
Social networking giant and market-leading data broker Facebook is once again taking heat for playing fast and loose with its access to personal information.
Oh, no. I thought we were done.
Never.
It's our weekly Facebook story.
Oh.
This time, it's the Facebook Android app that is under the spotlight after folks noticed it requesting an extraordinary amount of access privileges, specifically requesting super user access to a device, granting it full control over a handheld. For Android devices, the super user classification would basically grant an app full access to the device and data stored on it. Researchers who have examined Android's code have suggested it could be due to the SDKs used by some new features. Facebook has since posted a statement saying a coding error in one of our anti-fraud systems caused a small number of people running the Facebook app and certain permissions management apps on rooted Android phones to see a request for additional access permissions. We do not need or want these permissions, and we have already fixed this issue. We apologize for any confusion. The situation is reminiscent, however, of the 2016 findings that Facebook's app was getting microphone access for the placement of ads and comes at a potentially bad time for Facebook, who is trying to regain trust of its users after the recent revelations surrounding Cambridge Analytica.
I got nothing.
We've been there, done that.
Yeah, it's
with the security talk.
Right, exactly. So it was in probably the list of things of the service terms, and you just agreed to it, and now
this is like super user access. Like, it needs access to the super user account, which means it can install things, it can delete things, it can change things, it can monitor things, it can do everything with your system.
Once you delete the app, does it still?
Well, then presumably it would be gone, but if it has super user access, it could install things in the back end.
Right, but on some smartphones, like I have an Android, and I could not delete Facebook. The app itself, you cannot delete
right.
it.
Can't get rid of
you
it?
Can
You can
force
only
stop
disable it.
and
Oh, wow.
disable, but
Yeah.
you cannot delete. So if you have granted it access at any point, I admit I am a person who just presses OK. Like, I don't read through the 27
Right.
pages
I just
of
want to see
jargon.
Robbie's posts.
Right. So I don't even have Facebook anymore, but at some point I did accept the terms and conditions. I cannot delete Facebook from my phone, the app.
But that brings up a great idea, is if at any point you can contact the company and say, I no longer agree to the terms and conditions, and what legal implication would that have on them? That would be an interesting legal test to see, I no longer agree to this.
Right.
Which means they can no longer do what they wanted to do with your data.
You silently disappear.
That's right.
Yeah. well,
Where's Jeff this week?
I was just,
He disagreed with Facebook's licensing terms.
That's right.
So he's been deleted.
I was reading this week that I believe it's Apple is allowing you to download everything that they have about you.
They want to be transparent in light of Cambridge Analytica, perhaps.
Well, and that's exactly it. Could you imagine if Facebook said, we're going to release all of our information about you? People would just, their minds would explode with all of
Even
the
just
data.
seeing what they do give access to is mind-bending.
Oh, I think
and we
the
did that
world
on the
would
show.
go
We did that,
in
yeah.
an uproar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
not-
But
oh,
that's
yeah, we did.
That's
Yeah.
downloading
That's
your
that-
data.
yeah, that's the
not
Right. We
aggregated
did
data.
have
the
on you.
tip of the iceberg part, but that was scary enough,
Yes.
right? So just the fact that they have even more, and that they have access to everything. Potentially, they have access to everything on my phone, right? Even though
with these permissions.
I feel like I'm safe because I've deleted my Facebook, but I
know that we're
haven't
talking about it in
really.
the chat room, but I was thinking about it as you're reading the story. Have you seen the movie The Circle?
No.
Watch it.
Okay.
And then just replace The Circle with Facebook.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll never sleep again.
Yes.
Super. Okay.
Right. So we've got to
Well,
we've got to
onward
actually
and
wrap up the
to-
news.
Yes.
We don't have time for any more stories. So
Oh.
that's it. That's the news for this week.
Whoa.
Imagine that.
That's what happens when we talk.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to talk. We'll bring up the YouTube music store next week. It's not happening just. I mean, it's happening, but
It's
not
launching.
happened
It's launching.
yet.
It has
Yes.
not launched.
Well, it
No,
has in Canada and the U.S., but
Yeah.
we're going to bring it up next week. Maybe we'll have some early access. That would be kind of cool.
That would be so super cool.
Now, can you do your extra without the teleprompter?
Thanks for watching the Category 5.tv newsroom. Thanks, like and subscribe. Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Slight Linux bias.
Thank you.
I'm Sasha
Thank you for
Rickman.
watching, everybody.
Thank you.
She's Sasha. I'm Robbie.
Jeff. Wow.
Train wreck. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we will see you next week. Yes.
That's right.
Good night.
Bye.